June 7th, 1944. Lieutenant Thomas Bradford crouches in a Norman hedgerow, adrenaline pumping through his veins as his infantry company is pinned down by German machine guns they can't see, can't suppress, can't advance against. Men are returning fire. Medics are crawling through grass toward wounded soldiers. Bradford's company commander grabs his shoulder. "Bradford, call the fire mission. That's what we trained you for." Bradford is 24 years old, former high school math teacher from Ohio. 6 months ago, he was teaching geometry to teenagers. Now he's responsible for calling artillery fire that will save American lives. He pulls out his map, locates the German position with practiced efficiency. His training at Fort Sill comes back. Classroom lectures about fire direction centers and graphical firing tables, practice missions on Kansas ranges. This is what he's trained for. The coordinates he calls in will send 105mm shells onto enemy positions and allow his company to advance safely. "Bradford," the company commander's voice is urgent but confident. "Now." Bradford keys his radio. "Fire Direction Center, this is Oscar 3. Fire mission, enemy machine guns, grid coordinates." His voice is clear, professional. He gives the coordinates, estimates 200 yards from friendly positions, requests high explosive. The voice from the Fire Direction Center is calm, professional. Captain James Holloway responding. "Roger, Oscar 3. Shot. Over." "Shot. Out," Bradford responds. 30 seconds of silence. Then Bradford hears it, the beautiful sound of American artillery shells screaming overhead. The distinctive tearing canvas sound that means help is arriving. The shells impact exactly where Bradford calculated. Massive explosions erupt 200 yards forward. Earth and debris fountain skyward. The concussion wave hits Bradford's position seconds later. The German machine guns stop firing. Silence except for ringing ears. The company commander slaps Bradford's helmet. "Outstanding! Textbook fire mission! That's how you save American lives!" Bradford stares at the smoke rising from the impact area. He just called his first combat fire mission. Less than 3 minutes from his radio call to shells on target. The system works exactly like they taught him at Fort Sill. American infantry begin advancing. The German position is destroyed. Bradford's fire mission cleared the way. No American casualties during the advance. Sergeant Mike Romano, Bradford's radio operator, grins. "Hell of a first mission, sir. You just saved about 20 guys from getting shot crossing that field." Bradford realizes Romano is right. The German machine guns would have cut down the advancing infantry. Instead, artillery destroyed the position first. American soldiers are alive because Bradford did his job. He keys his radio again. "Fire Direction Center, this is Oscar 3. Standing by for additional fire missions." Holloway's voice. "Roger, Oscar 3. Outstanding work. Ready when you call." Bradford looks at Romano, who's already checking their equipment for the next mission. This is what they trained for. This is what American artillery does. Delivers precision fire in 3 minutes, suppresses enemy positions, saves American lives. Bradford's first mission was successful. He's going to call hundreds more before this war ends. 8 months earlier. October 1943. Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Thomas Bradford had volunteered for Officer Candidate School because teaching high school geometry in Dayton, Ohio, wasn't contributing to the war effort. His father had fought in the Great War and came home with stories about artillery barrages that lasted days, consumed millions of shells, and accomplished nothing except churning French farmland into moonscape. "We fired and fired and fired," his father had said. "Never knew if we hit anything, never knew if we helped, just fired into the smoke and hoped." Bradford expected artillery training to be similar. Crude, imprecise, overwhelming firepower compensating for inaccuracy. What he found at Fort Sill was something entirely different. The instructors were artillery officers who spoke about fire direction like it was a science. Captain Robert Morrison, Bradford's primary instructor, was a career artillery officer who'd spent the 1930s helping develop what he called the system. "Gentlemen," Morrison began on the first day, "artillery is not about having bigger guns. It's about having better math, better coordination, and better speed. The Germans have excellent artillery equipment, so do the British. We're going to teach you how to make American artillery more effective than both." Morrison introduced the Fire Direction Center concept. Centralize control of all battalion guns from a single location. Instead of each battery computing firing data independently, the FDC would control everything. Multiple batteries engaging the same target, rapid shifts from one target to another, coordinated fires delivering hundreds of shells simultaneously. Bradford's mathematical background made him excellent at the technical aspects. He could work a firing chart faster than most of his classmates. He understood the geometry of indirect fire, how to calculate the angle and charge needed to drop a shell on a target you couldn't see. But Captain Morrison also taught something Bradford hadn't expected: the human reality of what they'd be doing. "You will kill people with mathematics," Morrison said bluntly during a late-night session. "You'll do calculations on a map, and men will die. Some of you will struggle with that. Some of you won't. But everyone needs to understand. This is the most effective way to save American lives. German infantry that's suppressed by artillery can't shoot American infantry. German tanks that's destroyed by artillery can't kill American tankers. You're not murderers, you're problem solvers. The problem is armed enemies who want to kill Americans. Your solution is accurate fire delivered faster than the enemy can respond." Bradford had nodded, understanding intellectually. But understanding intellectually and calling your first fire mission onto living human beings turned out to be completely different things. Morrison assigned Bradford to forward observer training. "You've got the temperament," Morrison explained. "Cool under pressure, good with numbers. Forward observers need both." Forward observers were artillery officers assigned to infantry or armor units. They moved with the frontline troops, identified targets, and called fire missions back to the Fire Direction Center. It was dangerous work. Forward observers had casualty rates similar to infantry riflemen. Bradford graduated from OCS in December 1943 and received orders to join the 235th Field Artillery Battalion, which was training for the invasion of Europe. He would be a forward observer with the 30th Infantry Division. He shipped to England in April 1944 and spent 6 weeks training with the infantry company he'd support. The infantry captain he'd work with was blunt about expectations. "I need you to kill Germans before they kill my men. You need to be fast, accurate, and willing to bring fire danger close to our positions. Can you do that?" Bradford had said yes. He believed he could. Then came D-Day +1, his first real fire mission, and he discovered that believing you can do something and actually doing it are separated by a vast distance filled with fear, doubt, and the weight of human mortality. After Bradford's first fire mission successfully suppresses the German machine guns, his company advances. They find the impact area 20 minutes later while consolidating the position. Bradford forces himself to look. 6 German soldiers. Dead. Not cleanly. Artillery doesn't kill cleanly. The 105mm high explosive shells had detonated 15 feet above ground, sending white-hot shrapnel downward at supersonic velocity. The machine gun position is destroyed. The men who operated it are torn apart. Bradford turns away and vomits into the hedgerow. Sergeant Mike Romano, Bradford's radio operator who's been with him since England, puts a hand on Bradford's shoulder. "First time seeing what we do?" "Yeah." "Gets easier, kind of." Romano doesn't sound convinced. "Look, sir, those 6 Germans would have killed 20 of our guys if you hadn't called that mission. Company commander said we probably saved a dozen men with that fire." Bradford wipes his mouth. "The Fire Direction Center. They did this in 3 minutes. I gave them coordinates, and 3 minutes later, this happened. That's the system, sir. That's why we're winning." That evening, Bradford's battalion fire direction officer, Captain James Holloway, visits the forward observer position. Holloway is 28, a Fort Sill instructor before the war, one of the officers who helped develop the fire direction procedures. Holloway sits beside Bradford and speaks quietly. "Romano told me you saw the impact area. You okay?" 6 men dead because I did math correctly. 6 enemy soldiers dead because you did your job correctly," Holloway corrects. "Listen, Bradford, I need to explain something about the system we're using. You're not just calling fire randomly, you're part of a coordinated network that's more effective than anything the Germans have." Holloway explains the Fire Direction Center concept with the passion of someone who believes in what he's teaching. American artillery doesn't operate battery by battery like German guns. Every battery in the battalion, sometimes multiple battalions, can be coordinated to hit a single target within 3 minutes. When you call a fire mission, my FDC receives your coordinates. We plot them on a firing chart with pre-computed reference data. We use a device called a graphical firing table. It's essentially a specialized slide rule that lets us calculate gun settings in seconds instead of minutes. We transmit those settings to every battery in range. They load, aim, fire. Total time from your call to rounds on target, under 3 minutes. The Germans can't do this? The Germans compute firing data at the battery level. Each battery does their own math separately, takes them 12 to 15 minutes for a fire mission, and they can't easily coordinate multiple batteries. We can mass fire from an entire battalion, sometimes an entire division, faster than they can shoot a single battery. Bradford absorbs this. So when I call fire, I'm not just getting one battery. Depends on the target. For that machine gun, I gave you 2 batteries, 8 guns. For a bigger target, I could give you the entire battalion, 12 guns. For a really important target, I can call on coarse artillery and give you 50 or 60 guns, all impacting simultaneously. Simultaneously? It's called a time-on-target mission. I calculate different flight times for each gun based on their distance from the target. Guns fire at different times, so all the shells arrive in a 3-second window. The Germans hear no warning shots, no ranging rounds, just every shell hitting at once before they can react. Bradford is quiet for a long moment. Captain, the Germans can't match this? No, their artillery is good, but it's not coordinated like ours. And Bradford, Holloway meets his eyes. You're going to call a lot of fire missions before this war ends. Some will be danger close to our own troops. Some will kill dozens of Germans. That's your job. You're going to carry that weight. But remember that every German you kill with artillery is a German who can't kill American infantry. You're saving American lives. Bradford nods slowly. He understands the logic. Understanding doesn't make it easier. That night, German artillery pounds their position. The shells land scattered, inaccurate, insufficient to force withdrawal. Bradford listens to the German fire and understands what Holloway meant. German artillery can't coordinate like American artillery. Can't mass fires, can't deliver precision strikes in 3 minutes. That realization doesn't make Bradford feel better about the 6 dead Germans, but it makes him understand that he's part of something that's winning the war. July 19th, 1944. Saint-Lô. Bradford's infantry company is attacking German positions on Hill 192 when everything goes wrong. The German counterattack comes at dawn. Panzers and infantry hitting the American position from 3 directions simultaneously. Bradford's company is being overrun. German tanks are 50 yards from the command post. American infantry are falling back. The company commander finds Bradford and screams over the gunfire. "Call fire on our position, now!" Bradford stares at him. "Sir, that's danger close. We'll be under our own artillery." "We're dead anyway if we don't. Call it!" Bradford's hands are shaking worse than his first mission. He's about to call artillery fire onto American positions. If he makes any mistake, any error in coordinates, he'll kill his own men. If the Fire Direction Center hesitates or questions the mission, German tanks will overrun them. He keys the radio. "Fire Direction Center, this is Oscar 3. Fire mission, danger close. Enemy armor and infantry, grid coordinates." He gives their exact position. "Request immediate suppression. Friendly forces taking cover." Captain Holloway's voice comes back instantly. "Oscar 3, confirm you're requesting fire on your own position?" "Confirmed. We're buttoned up. Enemy is 50 yards and closing. Shot. Over." Bradford screams at everyone around him. "Incoming friendly fire! Get down! Get in holes!" American soldiers dive into whatever cover exists. Bradford presses himself into a crater, knowing that 105mm shells are about to land within meters of his position. The shells scream in. Bradford has never been this close to artillery impact. The sound is beyond description, a physical force that hammers his body. The concussion wave lifts him off the ground. Debris rains down. His ears are bleeding. He can't hear anything except ringing. He looks up through the smoke. German infantry are retreating. One panzer is burning. The others are pulling back. The danger close fire broke the attack. Romano crawls over. His mouth is moving, but Bradford can't hear him. Blood is running from Romano's nose. They're both alive, but barely. The company commander appears, also bleeding from the ears, giving Bradford a thumbs up. Bradford just called artillery onto his own position and survived. More importantly, everyone survived. The Germans didn't. That night, Holloway visits again. Bradford, that was the gutsiest fire mission I've seen. You saved your company. I almost killed my company. No. You trusted the system. You trusted my calculations. You trusted that we'd deliver accurate fire. And we did. Holloway pauses. That's what makes American artillery different. German forward observers can't call danger close missions because German fire direction isn't precise enough. Germans know if they call fire on their own positions, they'll kill their own men. You knew we'd put shells exactly where you needed them. Bradford's ears are still ringing. Will probably ring for days. But he's alive. His company is alive. Because American artillery can deliver precision fire in 3 minutes, even danger close, he's starting to understand what the system can do and why German soldiers fear it more than anything else on the battlefield. August 2nd, 1944. Bradford is observing German positions from a forward observation post when he hears an unfamiliar sound, a high-pitched engine, almost like a lawnmower in the sky. Sergeant Romano grins. That's our Cub, sir. Air observation. You're gonna love this. The L-4 Cub circles overhead at 1,500 feet. A tiny, single-engine aircraft that looks like it belongs at a county fair, not a battlefield. Bradford watches through binoculars as the plane banks over German-held territory. His radio crackles. Oscar 3, this is Grasshopper 2. I've got eyes on enemy artillery. 3 batteries dug in behind the tree line. Grid coordinates. The pilot, Lieutenant David Chen, reads off coordinates Bradford can't possibly see from ground level. Bradford relays the information to the Fire Direction Center. Within 2 minutes, American artillery begins counter-battery fire. Bradford watches through binoculars as shells land precisely on the German artillery positions Chen identified. The Cub circles, observing. Chen's voice is calm, almost casual. Good effect on target. I count 2 batteries displacing under fire. 3rd battery looks destroyed. That evening, Chen lands his L-4 on a rough strip near Bradford's battalion. He's 26 years old, former crop duster from California. Looks like he's having the time of his life. You're the forward observer who called that danger close mission at St. Lo, Chen asks. Yeah. Heard about that. Crazy brave or crazy stupid, not sure which. Chen grins. Want to go up tomorrow? See what I see? Bradford has never been in an aircraft. The idea terrifies him, but he agrees. The next morning, Chen takes Bradford up in the L-4. From 1,500 feet, the battlefield transforms. Bradford can see German positions that are completely invisible from ground level. Supply convoys moving on roads behind enemy lines. Artillery positions hidden in tree lines. Troop concentrations preparing for counterattacks. This is what I see every day, Chen says over the intercom. The Germans can't hide from me. Every time they move during daylight, I see them. And when I see them, artillery hits them in 3 minutes, Bradford finishes. Exactly. The Germans learned real fast to recognize my engine sound. When they hear me, they stop moving, take cover, hide, because they know what's coming. Chen banks the Cub over a German position. See that crossroads? 3 vehicles just pulled into that tree line. Bradford can see them clearly. From ground level, they'd be invisible. Chen calls the coordinates to the Fire Direction Center. Bradford watches, fascinated, as American artillery responds. Within 2 minutes, shells begin landing on the tree line. The vehicles try to disperse, but it's too late. All 3 are destroyed. The Germans are terrified of these Cubs, Chen says. They try to shoot us down, but we're too small, too slow, too agile. Their anti-aircraft guns can't track us. Their fighters can't find us because we stay low. We just circle up here all day, watching, calling fire on anything that moves. Bradford understands now why German prisoners keep mentioning the Cubs. The small observation aircraft combined with rapid artillery response creates an inescapable trap. Germans can't move without being seen. When they're seen, artillery arrives within 3 minutes. There's no defense except hiding and hoping the Cub doesn't spot them. Chen lands the L4 and slaps Bradford's shoulder. You ground observers do good work, but we air observers. We see everything. Bradford agrees. The combination of aerial observation and the 3-minute response time is devastating. The Germans have no answer to it. No wonder they're losing. August 7th, 1944, 4 a.m., Mortain, France. Bradford is awakened by the sound of German tanks, dozens of them. The massive German counteroffensive, Operation Lüttich, has begun. German armor and infantry are attacking in the pre-dawn darkness, trying to cut off American forces that have broken out of Normandy. The 30th Infantry Division is directly in the path of 6 panzer divisions. Bradford's company is on Hill 314, a key terrain feature overlooking Mortain. Within an hour, they're surrounded by German forces. Radio contact with battalion is intermittent. Ammunition is running low. German infantry are attacking from 3 sides. Bradford's radio crackles. Captain Holloway's voice is distorted, but understandable. Oscar 3, we're going to throw everything we have at the Germans around your position. Every gun in the division, plus Corps artillery. Stay down. How much fire? Bradford asks. All of it. I've got 348 guns coordinated through multiple fire direction centers. This is the biggest fire mission of the war. Time on target in 15 minutes. Bradford warns everyone on the hill. American soldiers dig deeper, knowing their own artillery is about to turn the surrounding area into hell. At exactly 6 a.m., the fire mission begins. Bradford has never experienced anything like it. Hundreds of shells screaming overhead. The sound is continuous, overwhelming. The ground shakes. Dust and smoke obscure everything. The barrage continues for 5 minutes straight, not scattered fire, but coordinated massed fire from 348 guns hitting simultaneously. When the barrage lifts, the silence is eerie. Bradford looks through binoculars at the German positions. Nothing is moving. Trees are shattered. Vehicles are burning. The German attack has been stopped cold. Chen's L4 circles overhead. His voice on the radio sounds awed. Oscar 3, I've got eyes on the impact area. It's just gone. Everything's destroyed. German tanks are burning. Infantry is retreating. I've never seen anything like this. Throughout the day, German forces attack Hill 314 repeatedly. Each time, Bradford calls fire missions. Each time, Holloway coordinates massive artillery responses. By evening, German forces are withdrawing. The counteroffensive has failed. Bradford's company has taken 50% casualties, but held the position. The artillery saved them. 348 guns coordinated through fire direction centers, delivering precision fire within 3 minutes of each call, breaking every German attack. That night, Holloway visits Hill 314. He looks exhausted. My fire direction center fired so many missions today we wore out the plotting charts. Had to replace them twice. We went through 20,000 rounds. Did it work? Bradford asks. The German counteroffensive is finished. 7th Army is retreating. We stopped 6 panzer divisions with artillery. Holloway pauses. Bradford, you called 47 fire missions today. Every single one was accurate. Everyone hit within the 3-minute window. You saved this hill. Bradford thinks about the German soldiers who died today because he did math correctly. Hundreds of them. Maybe thousands. The weight of that is crushing. But Hill 314 still belongs to the 30th Infantry Division. American forces are still advancing. The war is being won, 3 minutes at a time. August 15th, 1944. 8 days after Mortain. Bradford sits outside the battalion command post writing a letter home when Sergeant Romano appears with 2 bottles of liberated French wine. Sir, the infantry company we support wants to buy us drinks. Well, they can't buy drinks because there's no bar, but they found wine. They're insisting we come celebrate. Celebrate what? You, sir. They want to thank you for the fire missions at Mortain. Bradford follows Romano to where the infantry company has gathered. The company commander raises a canteen cup of wine. To Lieutenant Bradford, who called 47 fire missions in 1 day and broke 6 German tank attacks. You saved this company, Lieutenant. Every man here knows it. The infantry soldiers cheer. Several shake Bradford's hand. A young private, maybe 19, approaches nervously. Sir, I wanted to thank you personally. During that attack on the 7th, German tanks were 30 yards from our position. You called artillery danger close. We thought we were dead. Then your shells landed right on top of the Germans and saved us." The kid's voice breaks. "My mom's gonna see me again because of you, sir." Bradford doesn't know what to say. Romano saves him by raising his own cup. "To the Fire Direction Center! Best damn artillery system in the world!" More cheers. Captain Holloway appears, looking pleased. "Bradford, I wanted you to know. The division commander specifically mentioned your fire missions in his after-action report. Said your coordination with the FDC was the finest example of how the system should work." Holloway grins. "You're making Fort Sill proud." Later that night, Romano and Bradford sit together watching the stars. "You know what I realized today?" Romano says. "My brother's infantry, 1st Division. Every time you call fire that suppresses German positions, you're saving infantry like my brother. Makes me proud to carry the radio." Bradford thinks about the young private whose mother will see him again. Thinks about the company commander's gratitude. Thinks about how the system, forward observer, radio operator, fire direction center, artillery batteries, works together to protect American soldiers. "Romano, we make a good team." "Damn right we do, sir. Best forward observer and radio operator in the division." Romano grins. "Though I might be biased." The next morning, Bradford calls another fire mission. German artillery position firing on American lines. 3 minutes later, the German position is destroyed. An infantry captain radios personal thanks. Bradford's fire mission prevented casualties. This is what Bradford trained for. Not killing Germans, though that's part of it. Protecting Americans, giving infantry a chance to advance without getting slaughtered. Breaking German attacks before they reach American lines. The weight of responsibility is heavy. But the satisfaction of doing it well, of saving American lives with precision and speed, makes it worthwhile. Romano was right. They make a good team. Forward observer and radio operator working with the Fire Direction Center using the system that Fort Sill developed. 3 minutes from call to impact. American artillery superiority. Bradford writes to his parents that night. Doesn't mention the danger or the combat. Just tells them he's doing important work with good people, that his training is paying off, that he's making a difference. His parents write back weeks later. His father, who fought in World War I, understands what Bradford's not saying. The letter ends. "Proud of you, son. Do your job. Take care of your men. Come home safe." Bradford intends to do exactly that. December 16th, 1944. The Ardennes Forest. Bradford's battalion is supposed to be in reserve when German artillery pounds their positions at dawn. The Battle of the Bulge has begun. Within hours, German panzer divisions are breaking through American lines. The 30th Infantry Division is rushed north to plug gaps. Bradford's company arrives at Malmedy in chaos. Refugees fleeing, American units retreating, German armor reported within miles. Bradford sets up a forward observer post with Romano on the outskirts of town. The temperature is below freezing. Snow covers everything. Radio batteries die faster in the cold. Bradford keeps spare batteries inside his jacket to keep them warm. German forces attack on December 17th. Bradford calls fire mission after fire mission. The Fire Direction Center responds every time, but something is different. Holloway's voice sounds strained. "Oscar 3, ammunition is tight. Make every mission count." Bradford understands. German attacks have disrupted supply lines. Artillery battalions are rationing shells. He needs to be more selective about what targets justify artillery. But the Germans keep attacking. Bradford calls fire on German tanks, German infantry, German artillery. Each time, Holloway responds. Each time, American artillery delivers fire within 3 minutes. On December 21st, something changes. Bradford calls a fire mission on German infantry, and the shells that land are different. No warning whistle. No time to dive into foxholes. The shells detonate 20 feet above ground, spraying shrapnel downward with devastating effect. Romano stares at the impact area through binoculars. "What the hell was that?" Bradford radios the Fire Direction Center. "What type of rounds are you firing?" Holloway's voice carries excitement. "New proximity fuses. Radio fuses that detonate shells in the air. Just authorized for ground use. Bradford, these things are incredible. Casualties are 3 times higher than contact fuses." Bradford watches through binoculars as German infantry attack again. He calls fire. The proximity-fused shells detonate above the attacking Germans. The effect is devastating. German soldiers have no defense. Trenches and foxholes that would protect against ground-burst shells are useless against air-burst munitions. The German attack stalls, breaks, retreats. Over the next week, Bradford calls dozens of fire missions using proximity-fused shells. German casualties are catastrophic. German prisoners interrogated by intelligence officers report that their units are terrified of American artillery, which now kills soldiers even in covered positions. By Christmas, the German offensive is failing. American artillery, firing proximity-fused shells coordinated through fire direction centers, has broken the attack. Bradford's company is exhausted, frozen, low on supplies, but they're winning because American artillery can deliver precision fire in 3 minutes, and now those shells are 3 times more lethal. On December 26, Holloway visits the Forward Observer Post with hot coffee and news. The German offensive is finished. Patton's relieving Bastogne. We held the northern shoulder. Bradford, you've called 173 fire missions since the Bulge started. Everyone helped stop this attack. Bradford drinks the coffee, grateful for the warmth. How many Germans? Killed by your fire missions? Thousands. Probably more. Holloway pauses. I know you carry that weight, but Bradford, American casualties would be 10 times higher without artillery. You saved lives. Bradford nods. He stopped arguing about the weight. He just carries it. The war continues. 3 minutes at a time. January 20th, 1945. Bradford's battalion captures a German artillery officer during fighting near St. Vith. Oberleutnant Klaus Weber, 28 years old, professional soldier, artillery forward observer, just like Bradford. The intelligence officer interviewing Weber invites Bradford to participate, thinking the 2 artillery officers might have professional insight about each other. Weber speaks English well. He's exhausted, but maintains military bearing. When he sees Bradford's artillery insignia, something like professional respect crosses his face. You are American artillery observer? Weber asks. Yes. Then you are the best in this war. Weber's tone is matter-of-fact, almost admiring. American artillery is why you are winning. The intelligence officer encourages Weber to explain. Your artillery arrives in 3 minutes, Weber says. 3 minutes from observer call to shells on target. Our artillery requires 12 to 15 minutes. This difference decides battles. Weber describes what German intelligence learned from captured documents and prisoner interrogations. You have fire direction centers that coordinate many batteries simultaneously. We understand the concept is brilliant. We tried to develop similar systems, but too late. You perfected this in peacetime. We are trying to copy it during war. Impossible. Bradford asks a question he's wondered about. German artillery equipment is excellent. Your guns are as good as ours. Why couldn't you develop similar fire direction? Weber considers this thoughtfully. Your army invested decades in artillery coordination. You have graphical firing tables, trained fire direction officers, standardized procedures. We emphasized tanks and aircraft. When we realized artillery coordination mattered more, we had no time to catch up. What do German soldiers say about American artillery? The intelligence officer asks. Weber answers honestly. They respect it greatly. Your observers call fire accurately. Your fire direction centers respond quickly. Your batteries shoot precisely. There is no defense except dispersion and concealment. He pauses. Many German soldiers say American artillery is the most professional they have faced, not the most brutal. Soviet artillery fires more shells, but the most effective. You hit what you aim at, quickly. Bradford finds this perspective fascinating. Weber isn't describing terror, but professional respect. German soldiers recognize American artillery works better than their own. If Germany had your artillery system, Weber continues, this war might be different. But you developed the system in peace. We cannot build such systems during war. This is why you are winning. After the interview, Romano finds Bradford outside. What did the German say? He said American artillery coordination is the best in the world. Better than German, better than Soviet, better than British. He said it's why we're winning. Romano grins. Damn right it is. Fort Sill knows what they're doing. Bradford thinks about Weber's analysis. The Fire Direction Center system works because officers like Brewer and Ward spent the 1930s developing doctrine. Officers like Holloway mastered the procedures. Forward observers like Bradford learned to call accurate fire. Radio operators like Romano kept communications working. Every piece of the system functioning together. 3-minute response time. Coordinated fires from dozens of guns. Precision that German artillery can't match. Romano, we're part of something special. Weber said our artillery is the most professional in the war. Professional. Romano likes the word. Yeah, that's what we are. Professionals doing our job better than the enemy can do theirs. That night, Bradford writes in his personal journal, not about killing Germans, but about Weber's professional assessment. American artillery works better than German artillery because Americans built better systems, trained better personnel, and executed more effectively. That's not moral superiority or individual heroism. That's institutional excellence. And institutional excellence wins wars. Bradford is proud to be part of that excellence, proud to serve with Romano and Holloway and Chen and all the other professionals who make the system work. 3 minutes. That's the American standard. The Germans can't match it. That's why America is winning. May 8th, 1945. Germany surrenders. Bradford is in Czechoslovakia when the ceasefire order arrives. The guns fall silent after 11 months of continuous operations. Bradford has called 312 fire missions since D-Day. He's directed fire that destroyed German positions, broke German attacks, and protected American soldiers advancing across Europe. He's become one of the most effective forward observers in the European theater. Sergeant Romano finds Bradford and grins. We did it, sir. We won. Yeah, we won. Bradford realizes he's smiling for the first time in weeks. The system worked, Romano. Every mission we called, the FDC responded in 3 minutes, every time. 312 missions, Romano says proudly. Every single one accurate, every one on time. We're damn good at what we do. Captain Holloway arrives that evening with the battalion commander, who shakes Bradford's hand formally. Lieutenant Bradford, I wanted to personally thank you for your service. You called more fire missions than any forward observer in the division. 312 missions, perfect coordination with the Fire Direction Center, 0 friendly fire incidents. You represent everything we trained officers to do at Fort Sill. The battalion commander continues. The 30th Infantry Division had lower casualties than comparable divisions during the Northwest Europe campaign. Artillery officers like you are a major reason why. You suppressed enemy positions before our infantry attacked. You broke German counterattacks before they reached our lines. You saved American lives. That night, the artillery battalion celebrates. Bradford drinks liberated German beer with Romano and Holloway and dozens of other artillery soldiers who spent 11 months making the system work. The infantry company Bradford supported sends a delegation to thank him personally. The company commander presents Bradford with a captured German helmet signed by every soldier in the company. Sir, you saved us more times than we can count. Every man here is going home because forward observers like you knew how to call fire. Thank you. Bradford accepts the helmet, genuinely moved. This is what matters. Not the Germans killed, but the Americans saved. Not individual heroism, but system excellence. Not glory, but professional competence executed under pressure. Romano raises his beer. To the Fire Direction Center system. Best artillery coordination in the world. The celebration continues late into the night. Bradford finally relaxes for the first time since D-Day. The war is over. America won. The artillery system developed at Fort Sill in the 1930s proved decisive. 3-minute response time, precision fire, coordinated massing of batteries. German artillery couldn't match it. Thomas Bradford returned to Dayton, Ohio in September 1945 and resumed teaching high school geometry. He remained proud of his artillery service for the rest of his life. Bradford spoke occasionally at local veterans organizations about artillery coordination. He emphasized that victory came from systems and training, not individual heroism. His presentations focused on how Fort Sill developed the Fire Direction Center concept and how that innovation gave America decisive advantage. Bradford maintained a lifelong friendship with Sergeant Mike Romano. They attended artillery reunions together for decades. Romano often joked that carrying the radio for Bradford was the best assignment he could have gotten. Front row seat, watching a master at work. Captain James Holloway stayed in the Army and retired as a colonel in 1965. He taught artillery tactics at Fort Sill for 20 years, training new generations in the Fire Direction Center system. He and Bradford corresponded regularly, both proud of what they'd accomplished during the war. Lieutenant David Chen, the L-4 Cub pilot, returned to crop dusting in California, but stayed in the Army Reserve. He flew observation missions in Korea, still using the same coordination procedures developed in World War II. Bradford died in 2003 at age 83. His obituary mentioned he was a World War II artillery officer who'd called 312 fire missions with 0 friendly fire incidents. His funeral included full military honors. Former students remembered Mr. Bradford as a dedicated teacher who occasionally mentioned serving in artillery during the Big One. The Fire Direction Center system developed at Fort Sill, spread throughout NATO, and remains the basis for modern artillery coordination. Digital computers replaced graphical firing tables. GPS replaced survey techniques. But the fundamental concept, centralized control, rapid computation, coordinated fires, remains unchanged. Modern American artillery can still deliver precision fire within minutes of target identification. The 3-minute standard established in World War II remains the benchmark. American artillery superiority in World War II came from systematic institutional development. Officers at Fort Sill studied World War I, identified problems, developed solutions, and trained thousands of officers in the new doctrine. The system worked because every element integrated perfectly. Forward observers, radio operators, fire direction centers, artillery batteries, aerial observers. The Germans had excellent equipment and skilled soldiers, but they didn't have the system. And without the system, they lost. Thomas Bradford was proud to be part of that system, proud to serve with professionals like Romano and Holloway and Chen, proud that his 312 fire missions helped protect American soldiers and win the war. 3 minutes. From observer call to shells on target. That was the American standard. The Germans never matched it. That's how America won. Not through individual heroism, though heroes certainly existed. Through systematic excellence executed by thousands of trained professionals doing their jobs correctly under pressure. If this story moved you, subscribe for more untold histories about the soldiers and systems that won World War II. Leave a comment about what surprised you most. Was it the 3-minute response time, the Fire Direction Center concept, or Bradford's professional pride in the system? Thomas Bradford represented thousands of artillery officers who made the system work. Most are forgotten. But what they accomplished, combining mathematics, technology, and coordination to deliver overwhelming firepower at decisive moments, changed warfare forever and ensured American victory. 3 minutes. That was the difference between German artillery and American artillery, between defeat and victory, between casualties and success. The Germans respected American artillery as the most professional they faced. Now you know why. American artillery didn't just win battles. It won the war. Professionally, precisely, and within 3 minutes of every call. That's the legacy of Fort Sill, the Fire Direction Center system, and officers like Thomas Bradford who made it work.